Well, welcome everybody to another episode of 100 Yards of Football, the NFL version. Week number 3 is ready to kick off, and I'm Harper LeBel, along with Vincent Turner and Jay McLovin. Let's talk a little bit about what happened and begin the show with Week 2 highlights. Now, whether your team won or lost, there's a few that are 0-2, there's a couple that are 2-0, but I have to admit, to me and people that I've talked to from all over the country said what a great game that Monday nighter was when Philadelphia hosts the Atlanta Falcons and the Atlanta Falcons come from behind. They get the ball with just a minute and 40 seconds left. They go right down the field. They end up scoring a winning touchdown, and they pull out a victory to go 1-1 right now. Vincent, to me, not only was it an exciting game, but it was great to see. The option would be the Falcons be 0-2 going into this week with Kansas City. They turned that around and did so in such a manner that I think even the national audience was surprised.
Harper, you played with the Falcons. You know the fan base. I've been here since 1996. Going into this season with the hiring of Raheem Morris and the acquisitions they made, bringing in Zach Robinson's offensive coordinator from the Rams, and being around so many Falcon fans, leading up to the season and the acquisition of Kirk Cousins and the drafting of Michael Penix in the first round, the Falcon brass here, they're talking Super Bowl. That's bottom line. And if they would have lost that game on Monday night and went down 0-2, the city would have been quiet, crickets. But by them winning on Monday night, not only the city of Atlanta is taking notice, but coast to coast, everybody is saying the Falcons have enough talent to not win the division, but play in the Super Bowl. And me personally, I was glad to see them win the football game. I was glad for Kirk Cousins. I was glad for Terry Fontenot. I was glad for Raheem Morris, because the Falcons have not had that lot of excitement in a long time. What's been since, 2017 they've been to the playoffs, Harper?
It's been a while. You're right. Yep.
So the city of Atlanta is coming back to those days of the Matt Ryans, the Michael Vicks. And when Atlanta, especially when the Falcons are doing well, you can understand this, Harper. Even in your season in 1991, the city of Atlanta is electric, exciting. It's at another level. To you, Jay.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Vincent. I think if I had to label last week as a whole for the NFL, it would just be called Week of the Underdog. Because literally every damn underdog. Matter of fact, if I had to do a 5-legged parlay, if I had 2020 could go back in time, I would have put a beautiful 5-legged parlay together and probably been Big Daddy Warbucks on this show. Having said that, let's look at that one specific underdog that came back. Number one, Kirk Cousins had no business on that field because, again, the Achilles tear required 10 to 12 months of rehab. You know that he went down mid-season. So he really did it in about 8 to 9 months for what normally would take the average person 10 to 12. And this guy is 36 years old. What an anomaly and craziness of that. And I'm sorry, if you don't have Kirk Cousins, especially what he did last week against Philly as your comeback player of the year, then you clearly are not watching the game of football, number one. Number two, yes, Kirk Cousins. I mean, the guy literally did everything right. Philly, I'm sorry. There are certain podcasters on certain networks I saw specifically come out and say that Saquon Barkley was the 100% reason why that lost that game. I'm sorry. To those podcasts, I've told them to their face, you clearly have never played the game of football because you don't know what you're talking about. That game was lost on Philly's bad play calling and poor execution. And not just on Saquon, but on the defense and everybody else. Let's keep it real. Good game, Atlanta Falcons. Nobody saw you doing it, but you did it, and you did it well, and you did it with class. Put them chains on. Put them nice chains on, Kirk Cousins, because you earned it, baby.
Well, one thing about Atlanta, especially if you stop to think about their preseason philosophy, nobody played. Nobody. Starters, offense, defense side. So I thought they were a little bit sloppy in week number 1. That's to be expected. A lot of teams, but the jump from week 1 to week 2 for where they were, Saquon was was running all over the place early in the ball game. They tightened up on defense. They got that pick there at the very end. Patrick Bates is amazing. He read that like a novel. It was amazing how well he was able to do that. But the improvement from week 1 to week 2, very formidable, and they're right back in it. There's some teams, though, that are not even in the rearview mirror. They're right there with you. Tampa and New Orleans, to be specific. We'll talk about them in just a minute. But let's take a little bit of a look right now further ahead, and let's see what we've got coming up this week. Thursday night's game, the 1-1 New England Patriots end up going to the Meadowlands to visit the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. He's 40 years old. People are kind of criticizing, waiting for him to do something, but they got their first win with Aaron behind quarterback. They had to wait quite a bit for it, but the Jets will be hosting them. That game is on Prime. It'll be a very interesting Prime video, so getting access to that on Thursday night, I hope you're able to do it. It's at 8:15. Moving on to Sunday. There are plenty of games. Everybody's in action. At 1 o'clock, you've got the New York Giants. They're 0-2. They end up going to Cleveland. Cleveland's 1-1. Green Bay ends up going to Tennessee. Tennessee is 0-2. Chicago at 1-1 goes to Indianapolis. Indianapolis is 0-2. Denver at 0-2 ends up going to Tampa Bay. They're 2-0. But every one of those first games has a team that is winless and is looking to turn the tide for them. Our first game that we're going to feature here for this week is 2-0 Houston, goes to Minneapolis. They'll play at Union Bank Stadium against the 2-0 Minnesota Vikings. Guys, before we get to this game, just one simple thought. Each team was 3-0 in the preseason, and now they're undefeated. Someone is going to lose their first game here at 1 o'clock on Sunday.
I'm going to say this. Of course, we surprised Minnesota being 2-0 because J.J. McCartney is supposed to be the starting quarterback going into the season, but he's out for the year with a knee injury. I got to give kudos to the young man from USC, California, EIA, the City of Angels. Sam Darnold has played flawless, man. Last week against Frisco, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns, had that 99-yarder to Justin Jefferson. They averaged 7.5 yards a play, and their defense on the years got 6 sacks. But remember this, everybody was up in the uproar when they signed Stephon Gilmore. And now with him, with Jonathan Grinyard, a young man that's from Dallas, Georgia, not far away from where I live at, the Vikings are looking like a team that we might not need to consider an underdog. And then you're looking at the Houston Texans. DeMarco Ryans has built a nice football team, gentlemen. They are very strong on both sides of the ball. That's what I took with their win over Chicago. C.J. Stroud, what more can you say? The guy, assuming was the best quarterback in last year's draft. We're not going to get into that. But what I took from that game, Houston's now became a more physical team, but I like their defense on last Sunday night against Chicago. Sacked Caleb Williams 7 times. Their secondary got 2 young corners. Derek Stingley, we already knew what type of play he was at LSU. But the young man that I love, this is for you, Jay, Kamari Lassiter. The University of Georgia played like a Pro Bowl on Sunday night. And then Donnell Hunter and Will Anderson coming off the edge. Hey, both teams 2-0. I think this is going to be a really good football game. 2 teams that got a lot to prove and 2 teams that won't get in that mix and being a really tough out in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely, Vince. You know, let's be honest. If I even mentioned the name Sam Darnold in the name, the first thing that goes through your mind is bust.
Yeah.
Ever since he came in the league in the New York Giants and Carolina and so forth, that was a label that was given to him. Same label was given to Geno Smith back in the day. And just like Geno, Sam, it appears to be coming in the same footsteps as Geno, because as you know, Geno bounced around forever before finally landing down in Seattle and then making a name for himself. Same thing with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold has bounced around forever and now finally has landed with the Vikings. Now has Justin Jefferson, you know, as well as Aaron Jones. I mean, he has a legitimate O'Connell-led team that is benefiting him hugely. And I'm sorry, man. I'm not going to tab him as all the way back, but that performance against a great San Francisco team, how can you not say, damn, Sam Darnold is on the radar. He is not a bust. He could potentially be a great football quarterback. Justin Jefferson is the guy, man. And I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you right now, Stroud is everything we wanted Lamar Jackson to be, and isn't. Best quarterback to come out of Ohio yet, and we all know Ohio does not produce quarterbacks. But Stroud is the guy. Nico Collins, Diggs, Tank Dell. Where do you even start? Dalton Schultz. I mean, the team is fully 100% stacked. Not to say that Minnesota doesn't have Hawkinson and company, but I'm giving this nod 100% to the Texans. They're going to improve to 3-0. This will be the first loss for Sam Darnold, but it takes nothing away from what Sam Darnold has accomplished since he's come to this Minnesota Vikings.
Well, one thing about the Vikings that has impressed me is their defense. They're only giving up 11.5 points a game thus far in the season. I know it's early, but we'll see how defensively they're able to stop CJ and the onslaught that both you guys were talking about from the offensive side of the Texans. Our next game, Philadelphia, the Eagles, after a Monday night, have a short week. They're going to be heading to New Orleans. I'll tell you what, one thing about the Saints, and I know the Houdat fans are going bonkers right now. They're averaging 45 points a game, and they're only giving up 14. Vincent, how does Philadelphia go down there and match them either offensively or defensively?
This is going to be a very interesting football game from the standpoint. Philadelphia lost a tough game on Monday night. If Saquon Barkley pulls that pass in, we're not even talking about the Falcons winning the football game. I thought Jalen Hurts played real well on Monday night. He made plays in the game. But this is the thing that concerns me with Philly. I look at their D-line where they can't get pressure. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, Josh Sweat. I believe all those gentlemen first-round picks. Only 1 sack, 3 tackles for loss, and only 2 quarterback hits. And Philly has a lot invested in the D-line. And Harper, you can help me out with this. When you was on that 1990 Philadelphia Eagles team, what was the strength of that football team? It was their D-line. Jerome Brown, Reggie White, Mike Golick. And that was Philly about. When you look at the history of Philly, it's all been about their D-line getting pressure. And that is an alarming factor to me because Seth Joyner came out, your former teammate Harper, and he called out Jordan Davis. Said the Eagle Brad should not have drafted him. And then the Eagles have problems in the secondary. So that's going to be very important. I'm going to watch that side of the ball for Philly. With New Orleans, if you're saying the biggest surprise in the National Football League, in my opinion, I said the Saints are the biggest surprise. I did not see that coming with Derek Carr. He's played like a Super Bowl championship quarterback. I know they got outstanding offensive weapons in Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave. Their defense is very strong. They brought up Chase Young. Carl Granderson is one of the best DNs. They still got the veteran Cameron Jordan. I like Alante Taylor out of the University of Tennessee. He's playing lights out. But I think what New Orleans did that was very smart, they brought in Clint Kubiak, Gary Kubiak's baby boy. And I really, watching the Saints play the Cowboys, is really watching the San Francisco 49ers play and their offensive philosophy. And New Orleans did everything they wanted on offense. And the play calling was excellent. This is a huge football game in terms of where's Philly at, to me, from a defensive standpoint. And is New Orleans for real, and how can they keep up this offensive production? Jay?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Hey, look, you can't tell me right now that Coach Pierce over in Vegas isn't having seller's remorse or letting go of Derek Carr. And Dennis Allen, oh, man, what a gift that just fell into your lap, right? Much better than what Sean Payton had with Winston and company, right? So let's look at this game. This, honestly, if the Eagles want to right their perception amongst other fans and podcasters, this is a starting point. You've got to take this game. You just let a weak-ass Atlanta team come into your home, slap you around. And I watched it, Philly sports guy. E-A-G-L-E-F, Eagles! That was the premise of the beginning of the game. By the time it was over, those same people had their heads down, walking out the front door. Sad. shaking it. Couldn't believe what happened. This is the time. You got to level the ship, right the ship, and get your reputation back because this game is paramount. You got Kamara, who just had a huge game against Dallas, got 4 or 5 touchdowns coming into your house, right? You got Rashid Shaheed, I still love that name, who is literally lighting it up outside of Olave. That's the number 2 guy that you got to contend with on that defense. You had Drake London last week, and God knows who else was after him because nobody really cared. But you got a serious Dennis Allen-led team coming into your house. And I'm going to tell you right now, Alvin Kamara is going to run it. He's going to run it well. And I just don't know that what I saw from Philly, if it's going to be enough. So I hope Sirianni, can right this ship because after what we saw last year and what went on in that locker room, and now what we're seeing this year, and the fact that the Washington is listed is top right now in your division, you got big time things to answer. And Mr. Laurie, if you don't put him on notice to get this ship right, you might as well go ahead and sell it and let somebody else take it over because Eagle Nation ain't going to stand much longer for it.
If they lose, you're calling for the owner to sell the team. I want to make sure I heard that right. Boy,
I'm saying
that's going all in. You're pushing all those chips in, playing a little Texas Hold'em. Hey, let's focus a little bit on the western side of Pennsylvania, where the Allegheny meets the Ohio and turns it into one mighty body of water. How about the Pittsburgh Steelers? They're 2-0 guys, but were they a bigger surprise at 2-0, or are the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh? Listen to the spread. The Chargers are scoring 24 points in their first 2 games on average, and they're only giving up 6. So the Charger defense is showing up. Vincent, your thoughts?
I mean, when you look at the Chargers, I'm not really surprised because, like him or not, Jim Harbaugh is a hell of a football coach. He's going to do things his way. He's going to have a physical football team. And he knew he had a quarterback going up there in Justin Herbert. But what I like what he's done with Justin Herbert, he hasn't let him throw the football all over the place. He's more or less went to the running game, and J.K. Dobbins has been very good running the football for them, had over 100 yards last week. And we know that Jim Harbaugh is going to have a team that's going to play defense. They still got stars on the defensive side of the ball, man. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James. I like the acquisition. They brought out Elijah Molden, who's a very good player for the Titans. So, no, I'm not surprised at 2-0 because Jim Harbaugh, remember, he took the San Francisco 49ers to the Super Bowl. He stayed in Michigan 9 years, completed his mission there, and won a national championship. To the Steelers, looking back, we all thought Russell Wilson was going to be the man. There was a lot of words coming out of Pittsburgh, Justin Fields. And I remember this after the first preseason game. A lot of people was down on Justin Fields because he had a bad game throwing the football that day. First preseason game. But to be honest, we know what Pittsburgh is going to do. Under Mike Tomlin, they're going to play defense, man. Offensively, yes, they've had struggles since Ben Roethlisberger has retired. But I like this Pittsburgh team because it's old Grammy Steeler football. And when you look at what their defense has done, I'm going to tell you this. Looking at the overall spectrum and looking at this game, T.J. Watt, when it's all said and done, gentlemen, might be the best defensive player that's rushed a passer ever in NFL history. JJ's little brother. I go back to the 2017 draft when the Atlanta Falcons had an opportunity to take him, and they took Todd McKinley, no disrespect, out of UCLA. And I tell you this, with T.J. Watt being drafted in the first round, did nobody see him become the football player he's done. And this gentleman is a very special football player. And Pittsburgh is the Pittsburgh that we thought they're going to be. They're going to be tough. They're going to play, I want to say, air-free football. They're going to run the ball under Arthur Smith. And to tell you, with both teams being 2-0, to me, that's been very impressive. And think about this. Justin Fields is only throwing 1 touchdown on the year, and I think Justin Herbert is only throwing 1 touchdown on the year. And both of these teams are 2-0.
Yeah, this is the way I look at this game. First of all, Austin Eckler, geez, man. I really thought when they lost Austin that was going to be a huge hit to their run game. And when they were talking about bringing J.K. Dobbins in for Baltimore, I wasn't exactly ecstatic because he was coming from a quarterback run-heavy team. So I didn't know what really he was going to do. But the fact that the guys put up 27 carries for 266 yards, 2 touchdowns, and almost 10 yards a carry. He's at 9.9 averaging.
Yeah.
I guess clearly that Dobbins is the guy and that they actually made the right choice. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, Jim Harbaugh, he's a great coach, no doubt about it. He never won a Super Bowl, come close. And then when he did get the national championship, it was under speculation due to sign stealing. So, I don't know what to think about Jim 100%. But I will tell you what I do know about Mike Tomlin. He ain't had a losing season yet. He ain't had no scandals as of yet, and he's doing the most with absolutely very little. He brought in weak-ass Wilson, who honestly, given the one Super Bowl with the Legion of Doom defense, which, let's be honest, really won the game for them, hasn't done a whole hell of a lot since. Justin Fields, Ohio quarterback, that tells you everything you need to know right there. Hasn't really done a whole hell of a lot, even since he changed scenery, which sometimes, changing scenery can be a great thing. Even though he changed scenery and got under a really good, confident coach, still has really not done a whole hell of a lot. He's given you 273 total yards between 2 games and 1 touchdown with a 41.8 QBR. I'm sorry. That doesn't exactly make me feel warm inside. And if I'm George Pickens, I'm waiting on the first train out of here because my reputation, my career earnings are at stake on a quarterback and or older quarterback that really isn't going to get the job done. Having said that, I fully expect the Chargers to handle business, but I will tell you the one beautiful thing about Pittsburgh is that defense, and that defense is beautiful. And if they ever get a field general that can really take this lead after Roethlisberger left, then Pittsburgh will truly be back on the map. But kudos to Tomlin for getting the most out of least.
Well, you talk about the defense. The Steelers are only giving up 8 points a game thus far. Their front 4 are as good as anybody out there. It'll be interesting to see. You mentioned Dobbins and his 9.9. Those are high school numbers. I mean, that's incredible. You don't see that in college, and you certainly don't see it in the NFL. Najee Harris is averaging about 3.8 yards a carry. So just the difference there, and I think the Steelers will do everything they can. Credit the offensive line of the Chargers if he even comes close. If he gets over 7 yards a carry on average for the whole game, then that's an offensive line that I'd love to have. And speaking of offensive line, just very quickly, isn't it interesting? You had Ben Roethlisberger when he was first in the league 25 years ago, when he got his first start. Ben, just don't lose the game for us, okay? Don't throw it away. Don't fumble. Take a sack if you need to. Throw it out of bounds. We've got a good enough team around you to where we can win this ball game. Don't lose it for us. I think Justin's in the same boat right now. Much better offensive line than what he had in Chicago. Caleb Williams, we're talking. What kind of line do you got? How many times have you been sacked in 2 games? So there were some real problems in Chicago. They still need to work those out. But as of my opinion of how Justin Fields and the confidence that's building each and every week that Russell Wilson's out, it's going to be interesting to see how it turns out for Pittsburgh. But that's the last of the 1 o'clock games. If you wait for the second round of games, you've got Carolina goes to Las Vegas. They'll be taking on the Raiders. The 0-2 Panthers, they've got some problems there. They really do. They might be switching quarterbacks. I know they're talking about it, but I'm going to wait until it actually happens. But we'll see what goes on there. Miami at 1-1, they go to Seattle. That's the longest trip you can get from one end of the country to the other. And the Seahawks are 2-0. They'll be hosting the Dolphins. At 4:25, the LA Rams will be hosting a pivotal game against San Francisco. The Rams are 0-2, and they'll be at SoFi trying to salvage their season and turn the 49ers, who are 1-1, into a 1-2 team. 49ers coming off a loss last week. Arizona, how impressive were they? Kyler Murray running all over the place. They're 1-1, and they're taking on Detroit. That game is in Phoenix. Another game at 4 o'clock that we're going to talk about, the 0-2 Baltimore Ravens. You heard me right, ladies and gentlemen. A team that played for the AFC Championship is 0-2 right now, and they're going to Dallas against a team that if Dallas loses at home, boy, there could be some boo birds out there. Jay, you know more about that than we do, but let's go to Vincent first. Vincent, your thought on the Ravens at Cowboys.
I'm looking at Baltimore last week. Blew a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. Gave up 17 points with 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Ended up losing that game to the Raiders. But they're still a very good football team. Very good running game under Lamar Jackson. Last week, Derrick Henry had 84 yards. Zay Flowers had close to 90 yards receiving and a touchdown. And defensively, they had 5 sacks, 9 tackles for loss. They had 3 passes defense. And with Patrick Queen leaving, you thought that the Ravens would take a step back. But that happens in the NFL. You lose football games like that. You can contribute to coaching. I didn't really see the game, so I don't really know what happened per se. But they blew the lead, and they could have easily won their first game against Kansas City. And they're going to be a team that's going to be playing for their lives when they come to Texas Stadium on Sunday. Now to the Dallas Cowboys. My team. I heard some comments from Mike Zimmer yesterday. He said that, you know what? I've been in this situation before. I'm going to fix the defense. I'm looking at the Cowboys. I really don't know what kind of team that really is in Dallas. They had a very impressive win over Cleveland, but is Cleveland really all that good team? They played a New Orleans team that obviously I didn't think was that good offensively. But what really was disturbing to me was the defensive effort. You gave up 6 scoring points on 6 straight possessions to the Saints. Alvin Kamara almost had 200 yards total offense. Derek Carr only completed 11 passes that game, but he averaged, I think, 20 yards of completion. But the main thing that I really stuck out to me, Dallas could not stop the run. So when you have a running game, that opens it up for the play action. And Derek Carr, it was a point in that football game that if they would have played 2 more quarters, I would have been very disappointed because New Orleans could have scored 100 points on Dallas Sunday. They was clicking on all levels. And Dallas could not stop the run. And I'm going to say this. Dallas just paid Dak Prescott a lot of money. Me personally, here on 100 Yards Football, I wouldn't have done that. Because I said before, and I'm saying in the past, I'm going to say it now, Dak Prescott has not won a big football game. And when the chips are on the line and when everything is there for you to be a championship football team, Dak Prescott has not answered the bell. He's had some great regular seasons. He's had some MVP seasons. But right now, this game is very serious to a point because which team doesn't improve and win this football game, they're going to be in serious trouble, man. And I'm looking at John Harbaugh. He's had some great teams over the years in Baltimore. Remember a couple of years ago, they was talking about letting him go. Remember, gentlemen? He was on the hot seat. He kind of bounced back. I don't know if Lamar Jackson's really the answer under the sun either. Because in this game, Harper, you played it at a high level. And I judge it like this. I have not played a game at a high level, but I know to be remembered in this league, to remember as a true Hall of Famer, it's about the chips. It's about the championships. It's about the trophies. And this is a serious football game because this team loses this game, there's going to be a lot of rumbling in Baltimore, Dallas. To you, Jay.
Yeah, absolutely. When I think about this game, I want to go back and I'm talking on the Dallas perspective of this game. When we looked at last week and how we shit the bed, for lack of a better word, against New Orleans, and Vince, I don't know how you were when you were watching this game, but literally when I was watching this game, all I could think of was, or all I kept going through my brain was Jordan Love and the Packers versus the Cowboys in the playoffs. It literally on the defensive end was almost exactly identical. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the defensive end, where were the cornerbacks? I know specifically I saw the tight end for New Orleans in the end zone and in a damn person around him. He was all by himself. Literally, I thought he could have laid down and caught the ball, and it wouldn't have mattered. So, again, we were getting run on like stepchild. Kamara just ran by us like we weren't even there. Maisie Smith and our tackles. You guys got to do a better job. You're a first-round draft pick. Act like it. Act like it, please. Because you got Lamar Jackson, who is a terrible passer, but a hell of a good runner, coming into town, and then you got Derrick Henry right behind him. Who are you going to stop? How are you going to stop? How are they going to disguise what they're doing? And I don't know if you're ready for that. CeeDee Lamb can't do it all on his own. Cooks, you need to get involved. How many times have we brought in this guy, Brandon Cooks, and we don't even use him? Our play calling is so bad. I'm ready to go to North Shore High School, which is probably the number 4 ranked high school in the nation, and grab their damn defensive and offensive coordinators and throw it on the Cowboys. And Mike McCarthy, if you don't already know it, I pray to God Jerry's smart enough to put you on the damn hot seat. The only bad news for Cowboys is we'll probably get Zimmer right behind him, and that's not any damn better. So prepare yourselves, Cowboys. We're still in the tribulations, and we got 30 more years of hell. I got to be honest with you. I think likely who put up 111 yards last game, is going to have a repeat performance against the Cowboys. And I don't like saying that, but I'm going to keep it real. As a Cowboy fan, I think me and Vince are probably the only non-delusional Cowboys fans that aren't a part of the delusional fan base. And I'm sorry, my fan base is delusional. But it's okay. They're going to get a helping dose of reality once the Ravens come in. And I think the Ravens are going to bounce back. They're going to get their first game of this season as a win. And the Cowboys are still going to be trying to figure out what the hell to do on defense. How do we figure out our play calling? And I don't think they had the answers. And Cowboys secondary, look, I understand you don't have Bland, which, by the way, was the number 1 cornerback last season in interceptions. I understand you don't have Bland. But damn it, man, you got Carson and Wilson, both of them on the damn wide receiver and getting blown out, and he still gets the damn catch. And I will never understand it. You got 2-on-1, and the one guy comes away with the ball. What a time to be alive as a Cowboys fan.
Well, Cowboys lose it. They'll be 1-2, and a team that's going to fight to not be 1-2 is Atlanta. Second week in a row, they got a national audience. On Sunday evening, they will be hosting the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs and their 2-0 record. Will they have enough time to rebound from a Monday night win, a quick week to get ready for a team like Kansas City that Mahomes right now, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's not on his A game right now, but doesn't really need to be. Vincent Pacheco is out as of right now, but if there's any team in the league that can make use of the next guy up, it would be Kansas City. I think Taylor Swift might even have a uniform, or they might put Kelsey in the backfield in order to be ready for this game. I know that they are the guys that you can draw something in the sand, and they will have a great play out of it. Your thoughts about Kansas City coming into Atlanta?
I think you want to say it's must-see TV. It's probably going to be a Super Bowl atmosphere down there around the Mercedes-Benz Dome. When I look at Kansas City has not played well in their first 2 games. They could have easily lost to Baltimore 2 weeks ago, and really, based on that pass interference call, they could have easily lost to Cincinnati last week. Yep. Patrick Mahomes has not played well. 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. They're making a lot of transition to wide receiver position, bringing in Xavier Worthy from the University of Texas. Had an outstanding first game, 2 touchdowns, I believe, in the first game. Last week, he was non-existent. And to be honest, what I took from that game against Cincinnati really outplayed them on both sides of the ball. Kansas City was very lucky to win that football game. But the one thing, 2 champions, they find a way to win. Not for the Atlanta Falcons. Big win on Monday night over the Eagles. Everything is on the table. Me personally, I just want to see the Falcons play well and play like they belong. This is what you did in the offseason. You brought in Matthew Judon. You brought in Justin Simmons. You got the best safety duo in the league now. You brought in Kirk Cousins. And that happened for you on Monday night. The Falcons, what most of all has been impressive last week was their running game. The offensive line, we talked about Harper over the last 2 weeks. came to play. They played like a Pro Bowl offensive line. And B. John Robinson and Taylor Algier ran that football real well. I believe they had over 150 yards and averaged almost 5 yards a pop.
Yep.
It's not more you can say. This is what a playoff atmosphere should be. This is what a Super Bowl atmosphere should be. Taylor Swift should be in the house. Already I'm hearing from different radio shows, especially from the competitor, the letters of 680, they're going to have a tailgate where it's going to be free cocktails, free food, and they're going to be down there starting at 5 to 8. That's 3 hours for the game right there at the Benz. So you can see that it's going to be a lot of people that's going to invade downtown Atlanta. Sunday night, the last game of the evening, Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, Mahomes. We don't even know who's going to come to Atlanta and be in the house in Mercedes-Benz. Then another point I want to bring up. I saw some on social media today here in Atlanta is that the owner, Arthur Blank, is going to, I want to get this correct, he's going to give away free potato chips and hot dogs and drinks free throughout the game, correct? Is I'm correct on that? So, hey, man, it's going to be enjoyable. I'm looking forward. This is a time where Atlanta can make a statement at how good a football team they are.
Amen, brother. I think the biggest thing, if I'm the Falcons coach, I'm telling my team after that win in Philadelphia is don't bring this drunk of emotions into the game against the Chiefs. You take this win, appreciate it, and then pretend like it never happened. And you refocus and be the hungry dog that you're going to need to be to take on the mighty Kansas City Chiefs. Because let's make no mistake about it, this team, the Kansas City Chiefs, they're battle tested. And I think last week was a prime example of the resiliency, the never give up attitude that Patrick Mahomes and Kelce and so forth have in company. And I'm going to tell you right now, here's the deal. I will say this, Mahomes, brother, you look mortal against the Cincinnati Bengals last week. I know it wasn't your best game. You did put up a lot of yards. Don't make a mistake about it. You put up 442. You had 3 touchdowns, which is great. But then you also had 3 interceptions. Not so great. So you can't play. You probably could play mortal. Let's be honest. You probably could play mortal and have another repeat performance against Atlanta and come away with the win. I'll be honest with you. You probably could do that. The biggest issue for the Chiefs is going to be on that run game. Pacheco went out with the fibula fracture. I will tell you, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm putting a rod and some pins on that fibula. It's probably about a 3 to 4 week recovery time from the surgery, and you're back in commission. That's probably what I'm going to do if I'm the Chiefs. However, they did sign Kareem Hunt to the practice squad because right now you got Steele and some guy who, let's be honest, probably don't even know the name of. I think it's Samaj or Samaje Perrine. Those are your guys. Not a whole hell of a lot of confidence since Steele is putting up 3 yards a catch and Perrine has yet to see the field. So that's a lot. I think that run game for them is kind of going to be the biggest Achilles heel that the Chiefs are going to have to deal with going up against the Atlanta Falcons. Again, like I said, Carr still put up 9 for 27, averaging 3. So that's the weakness. I see a helping dose of Xavier Worthy. I think he's going to be in the backfield quite often, as well as the wide receiving core, playing that part as well. I see a helping dose of passing game to Rice, as well as probably Kelce. I think Kelce's going to be called on quite a bit, honestly, in that short passing game. I think that Cousins is going to start to get – I hope he starts to get Pitts more involved so that offense can take the next level. I don't know how you got a guy like Kyle Pitts on your team and you're not getting him as much involved as you are Drake London and so forth, but they need to get him involved. The Falcons run the ball and spread the ball around. That's the biggest thing. And they got to rush the Chiefs. They need a helping dose of Bijan Robinson all over the place to control the clock and keep Patrick Mahomes off the field.
Well, that'll do it for the Sunday night game. Again, the Falcons, for the first time in many years, hosting a Sunday night game here in Atlanta. And as Vincent said, the stars will be out here in Atlanta for that. Obviously, if Taylor Swift is in attendance, you'll know about it. I wonder what the over and under is going to be on how many times they show her. I guess that'll depend on whether or not Travis has a bunch of receptions, but it'll be a great game. Looking forward to it. The Monday night schedule. There are 2 games. First of all, at 7:30, Jacksonville 0-2. They'll be heading to Buffalo. Buffalo 2-0 right now. And then the final game at 8:15 will be Washington. They're 1-1, and they'll be taking on the 0-2 Cincinnati Bengals. So that'll be a roundup of this week's schedule. There's some great games. We talked about 5 of them. Vincent, parting thoughts.
Parting thoughts is week 3 of the NFL. Want to see where the Dallas Cowboys are going to bounce back against the Baltimore Ravens. And I guess on the national stage, where is the Atlanta Falcons? Are they Super Bowl quality? They're playing a Kansas City Chiefs team that's back-to-back Super Bowl champions. I'm going to be very interested to see how that game goes.
Jay, final thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the games I specifically want to watch, or at least keep track of, is the coming home of Malik Willis as he goes up against that Tennessee Titans. And this, honestly, I think it's going to be one of the most fantastic games, because if Malik comes out and can put up a good show for them, I mean, this is going back home, right? They're the team that drafted him. So, Malik, all eyes are going to be on you, brother. If you want to make a statement, if you want to reclaim and put yourself out there, this is the statement game to make. How sweet it is.
Well, Jay's making the statement, and we're going to be knocking some stuff over, and we're going to be ready for it. Week 3 will be in the books late Monday night, and we'll be back again next week to bring you some more of our thoughts and perspective on NFL games, obviously with college. We'll have a special guest along with us as well. Until then, this is Harper LeBel, along with Vincent Turner and Jay McLovin. We're having a great time here talking about 100 yards of football. We want to thank you for joining us here today. Have a great rest of your week. Tell a friend. Enjoy the show, and have yourself a terrific rest of the day.